One of these is the DM. Which
Hey,
one
what's
is
up?
it? Uh, I'll figure it out. Anyway, so we have Leroon here, my co-host, as well as special guest Farid. So I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves right after I read the disclaimer for the show. Oh, I know what I need to do. I need to put it on video recording because you guys are always going to see whatever I bounce to on my screen. So those of you watching will have my private banking information hopefully not show up on the screen while I do this. But this is show 4, Inspiration. And just to let everybody know right up front, All Things Fantasy Grounds Talk Show is meant to teach and help. But the opinions expressed and stated by the three of us on the show are not those of Smiteworks USA LLC, or Fantasy Grounds. So welcome, guys. And Leroon, why don't you start by introducing yourself?
Hi, this is FGC Leroon. I'm the founder, friend, teacher, whatever you want to call me, butthole.
Chef.
And anyways, yeah, I just wanted to say hello to everybody, and I want to appreciate you guys for showing up. And we do have a prize tonight, I think. And we have a special guest, Farid. He has been recently promoted to assistant professor, and I'd like him to say hello as well.
Hey guys, how you doing? My name's Farid. A lot of you people in here are from the college, so you probably know me already and you've heard my voice before. Anybody who hasn't, I'm just a guy that likes to play some D&D and likes to help you guys out with Fantasy Grounds. So if we haven't met before, come into our Discord, which I'm sure a link will come up for that eventually, and give us a chat and ask for some help.
All right, excellent. Welcome to the both of you, and welcome to everybody in our viewing audience, as well as those who may be watching this video on YouTube after the fact. Tonight's topic is inspiration, and so we will be giving away a prize at some random point during the show. That prize will be unknown whom, the very first, and actually to this point only adventure that I have on the DM's Guild. Out of 66 items currently on the DM's Guild, there is exactly one adventure that I've done, and people are pressuring me to put a sequel to that, and I am working on that, and I actually have people that are involved in helping with that, so that's coming soon. But we will be giving away a copy of that. And as we start with inspiration, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to bring up what it says in the player's handbook that inspiration is, and then we're going to show you how to mechanically use inspiration in Fantasy Grounds, and then the rest of the discussion will probably be more role-playing ideas and how certain groups use or don't use it. But inspiration says that it's a rule that the dungeon master can use to reward you for playing your character in a way that's true to his or her personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws. By using inspiration, you can draw your personality trait of comparison for the downtrodden to give you an edge in negotiating with the beggar prince. That's just an example. Or inspiration can let you call in your bond to the defense of your home village to push the effect of a spell that has been laid on you. Gaining inspiration, your DM can choose to give you inspiration for a variety of reasons. And again, most of these have to do with roleplay. Typically, a DM's award it to you when you play out the personality traits given to drawbacks presented by the flaw or bond, or otherwise portray your character in a compelling way. Your DM will tell you how you can earn inspiration in the game. You either have inspiration or you don't. You can't stockpile multiple inspirations for later use. Now, we will talk about a variant on that because sometimes you can have more than one. We'll talk about that in a second. And then here's the most important part. Using your inspiration. If you have inspiration, you can expend it while you make an attack roll, saving throw, or ability check, and spending your inspiration gives you advantage on that roll. Additionally, if you have inspirations, you can reward another player for good role playing, clever thinking, or simply by doing something exciting in the game, and you can give your inspiration to that person instead of using it yourself. When another player does something that really contributes to the story in a fun and interesting way, you can give your inspiration. Okay, so just the mechanics real quick, guys, before we get into the discussion. On your character sheet, inspiration is up here. Most people know where it is. It's right up here under INSP, and you click it on, or you click it off. And actually, I hadn't thought of this beforehand, but I'll bring up a player. I'll bring up a player version of the tabletop, and I will show what that yellow star looks like when you have it on there. And while I'm doing that, guys, did you guys want to say anything up front about inspiration? Either one of you want to have anything before we get into it? Say anything up front about it?
Nope.
For the actual mechanics of it, no, I think you covered that pretty well. I mean, once we get into the role play stuff, that's when I think we'll get going.
Okay, and we did cover this in the options show, but just as a reminder, in the options all the way down here at the bottom, there is an inspiration slots. It's the last setting. And so if your group or your DM decides to use more than one, you can go here to PC inspiration slots and click standard, 2, or 3. And you'll see right here where my mouse is pointing, you'll see the number of circles change as I cycle through that. So standard is 1, 2 is there, and 3 is there. So you do have the opportunity as a DM or as your group decides to have more than one slot if you decide to do that. I should have the player instance up, which means I can grab a character, and then so you'll see that I've marked 3 inspirations on my character, and it shows a yellow star. If you have more than one, it will put a 2 or a 3 there, and then only you will see your player's inspiration. But the DM, should there be a group of many people, the DM will see a star and a number for everybody that's listed up here on the top. So you don't see that now because I don't have 6 players connected, but that's what you'll see.
Nice.
So inspiration can be used, like I said, in many different ways. We've talked about what it says the rule is, and just as an example to kind of kick the conversation off. Oh, and guys, by the way, if you have questions in the chat, go ahead and type them in, and we'll get to those. But I myself, I find that I usually state, if not always state, to my players in advance, if it's a campaign or even if it's just a one-shot, I will tell them that if we're using inspiration, I use it as rules as written. So you can use it by taking advantage on a saving throw, a check, or an attack if you say it before you do it. So this is what happens to me a lot. Players will have a bad roll, and they'll say, oh, can I re-roll that using my inspiration? And I'll just matter-of-factly say, you can absolutely not do that. And it gets a big laugh every time. And the reason I do that, personally, the reason I do that is that nerfs things like luck or lucky, or there's other things in the game that let you re-roll things, and I don't personally like using inspiration to let people re-roll, but some people do, and so that's just a personal taste of you and the people that are in your group with you, what you guys decide you want to do. But yeah, I'll open it up to you guys. Yeah, go ahead, Farrad.
For you there, Rob, Furied Fate's asking for you if that includes death saves.
Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people, I've seen people use that as well. So inspiration is, you can absolutely use your inspiration to make a death saving roll, because that is just a check. But to use it as a reroll after you fail, that completely changes the dynamic of why you're doing it, and imbalances the game. So that, again, is a personal choice. That's a house rule, but I would not let players re-roll, but I absolutely would let them use it if they say they want to use it before they roll, because it is just a check. Yeah.
And every DM's going to do that differently, right?
Exactly. Every DM and every group, especially if you have like a session 0 or even just get together before you have your first session of a campaign, you're all going to want to decide, like, well, so what are we going to do? Can we use it for rerolls, or can't we do that? Or, you're going to want to sort of lay down the rules before you start, so that players don't get caught. Like that's what's happened to me. Like a player will say, "Can I re-roll it?" And I'll go, "No, you can't do that." And I'll go, "Oh, I thought we could." And I said, "Well, that's just our decision, what we decided before the game."
Yeah. And if you want, while we're on the actual description of inspiration, there is in the Dungeon Master's Guides that second option with the heroes points we were talking about earlier.
Oh, does that involve inspiration, or is that just hero points?
It's just hero points, but there is also a little bit. They like the Dungeon Master Guide actually goes into a little bit more on inspiration. If you want me to go over that a little bit.
Oh yeah, by all means, I'll look that up and put it on the screen while you're talking about it.
Sure. It's on page 240. If you, I know it works a little bit differently on there, but it's page 240. So it actually talks about ways for the DM to award inspiration. And it goes through, it looks like five different ways that they give you in this guide for doing that. So it comes down to role playing, heroism, a reward for victory, genre emulation, and players and inspiration. So that goes through a little bit more in that. So role playing would be people using their flaws and their bonds and their traits when they're playing their character a little bit more. um, when they stop talking to the DM and they start talking to each other and really get into that story. It gives the DM a little bit more incentive to want to give you inspiration.
Right. So yeah, that is, I found it on the screen here for those that are watching the video. It's in the DM's guide under inspiration on the page that Farad said. In Fantasy Grounds, of course, there's no page numbers, but you can type inspiration in the search in the reference manual for the DMG, and you'll find it. And so yeah, here's all the different ones that he just mentioned: role playing and heroism, and reward of victory, so on and so forth. And then you mentioned also that there is hero points, which is another thing that's not necessarily inspiration, but it's kind of related. Hero points are just an optional rule that you can give. We won't go into that too much, but you can give those out at the beginning of a campaign, and that's the thing where you can have like one hero point to spend during the entire campaign, but you can use that to change the course of the story. Like if someone dies, or if if you all fall into a pit, you can just say, oh, I'm going to use my hero point, and no, we didn't fall in the pit, and then the DM will change it. It's like a major plot point shift. You can use those for any number of things, but yeah.
And I know that in a lot of things that I've watched over the course of my DM watching, that some people do even allow you to use inspiration in that ways, and they're just a little bit more tight knit about how they give it out. Or in the run was mentioning, in his case, he only gives out one inspiration per campaign.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's crazy. I love
I'm
it.
pretty stingy.
Yeah, or if you guys remember the joke, Doug Davison, when we were playing the Wednesday night game, and the very first time we ever played, I got sick and I was in the hospital and all this stuff, and so Doug went on the Tomb of Annihilation stream, and he didn't mention me by name, but he said, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty stingy with inspiration. I don't give it out unless you go to the hospital." So that was pretty funny, because he's stingy with inspiration, and I think a lot of DMs, it's not just that they're stingy, they just forget. They just forget to give it out because they're so into the
yeah.
game, and they forget that it's there. And then along those lines of DMs forgetting to give it out, there is a variant that I have here on the screen where only players award inspiration. So a group can decide that players can give themselves inspiration, not to themselves usually, but like, oh hey, that was really funny, or that was really cool what you just did. Let me give you inspiration. And as long as that's not abused, you can have just the players sort of self-police that in your own group if that's the way you want to do it.
And just while you're talking about like different players and inspiration, a lot of DMs also do let you use your inspiration on somebody else's role. So say one of your players is in dire straits and he doesn't have inspiration, but you do. You're the only person left in that party. You can try and find a way to inspire that person
Right, and
and
that's part of
use your
the
inspiration that way.
exactly, and that's part of the original rule, is that you can give your inspiration to another player. Um, so yeah, that's all part of it. That's a fantastic way to be a team and to help your fellow party members when they have hastily spent their inspiration, but you still have yours. You can help out a buddy in trouble, right?
Mhm. And
That's pretty cool.
as a DM, what I would do is I would ask that person that's inspiring the other friend, how do you inspire them? Like actually act that out for me, like role play that for me. There are
That's
a
good.
couple questions in chat here.
Sure, go for it.
So Shadzar, so inspired doesn't add up then? No, it doesn't. There is an option where the DM can choose to give you more than one if he so chooses, but the official 5e rules is it's just one. And then Fury Fate asks, can you collect both hero points and inspiration? And the answer to that would be yes, because they're used for two different things. The hero point is kind of that one-time thing that gives you a big major change, where the inspiration just helps you on rolls.
Right, and there actually is there is an extension in the Fantasy Grounds forums for hero points, and I don't have it installed here, and we're actually going to do a whole show on extensions, so that'll be a future show. But there is an extension that is for hero points that basically appears right here. It kind of squeezes the name left, and it squeezes inspiration over, and it appears right here. And a lot of people use it for also bardic inspiration, because you can put a dice in there. You can put either a D4, D8, D10, D6, D20, whatever's in there. And but there is an extension where it'll appear here. So we're not going to go into it too much, just to mention that it does exist, and you guys can look for it on the forums. And I think it's called Hero Point Extension or something like that. You'll find it if you look for it. But anyway, that does exist.
Have you guys heard of plot points?
Yes, I've heard of plot points. I don't use those and haven't used them, but a DM that I played a game with in real life did use those. So I don't remember exactly what they were, but let's look them up.
I think they're similar to hero points, but they're more used for like changing an event as opposed to a mechanical roll.
Oh, so that's what I explained hero points were, and perhaps I explained that wrong.
Oh, okay.
It could be.
Because that's what he was saying. That maybe it's just we had the actual name of it wrong.
Could be.
Well, let's go to hero points. Why wouldn't that appear in my search for?
I've got the index on my book open. I've got it right on my lap. Give me one moment here.
All right.
I'm searching for the word hero in the DMG, and it doesn't show me anything. So it must be listed under something.
Somebody asked if it was a boon.
I actually have it here. Give me one moment. I'm just.
I don't think boon. I think boon might be a different edition. I don't think there's anything called boon in 5th edition.
Ooh.
Okay, so
hey, Recon 108, thanks for the follow.
Hero points. Hero points well in epic fantasy and mythic campaigns, in which the characters are meant to be more like superheroes than the average adventurer is. With this option, a character starts with 5 hero points at first level. Each time a character gains a level, he or she loses any unspent hero points and gains a new total equal to 5 plus half the character's level. A player can spend a hero point whenever he or she makes an attack roll or an ability check. So it's literally just a different way to name inspiration. It looks like.
So hero points are not what I said they were. They're what you just said, and plot points is what I was talking about.
Okay.
Okay.
So plot points are the ones where you can just say, I want to use my plot point and alter the course of the entire story because we all just died, or there was a TP, so whatever. It's a giant thing, and usually those are just each player gets 1 for the entire campaign. Once you blow it, that's it. It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah, so this one, so it says, I've got that in the book here too. It just says plot points allow the players to change the course of a campaign, introduce plot complications, alter the world, or even assume the role of the DM. If your choice reaction to reading this optional rule is to worry that your players might abuse it, then it's probably not for you.
Yeah, that's actually what remember I said I played with a guy that used those. He encouraged that. He encouraged the use of that in that way. He was the DM, and he said, and then if you want to use your plot point to take over being the DM, by all means, he was willing to give it up. So that was it was kind of a pressure-filled environment. It was kind of fun.
That sounds fun. I tried to use it a couple times, and I thought it was fun for role-playing and inspiring, that sort of thing. But there again, I'm very wary of things that'll break the game. So that's why I'm very stingy about, things like that.
Hey, Garth Giant Bane, thanks for the follow.
It's almost like a minor wish or something like that.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why a lot of people, sometimes I've had players in past years get frustrated with me for using the rules as written, because D&D basically they put out these books and everybody pays $50 and it's a giant tome of rules, but it's all just guides. It's all just, hey, this is a basis for you to play a game, and you guys can change it however you want. But the reason I tend to use the rules as written in almost every case is because they did play test it with like 500,000 people, and they balanced it out. and it's not, they didn't just say things just to be funny. They're doing certain things for a reason. So I tend to use rules as written only because, like I said before, if you allow somebody to use inspiration to re-roll a roll, then you can do that. You can make that decision, but that completely negates like the lucky feat or the luck trait. It just throws those out the window, and they're not special anymore because either gnomes, or if you take the lucky feat or whatever, now that doesn't mean anything because you can just roll with inspiration, right? So I tend to stick to rules as they're written because they were written as a reason. But just as a, I just say that for me personally. But if you're in a group with players and you're the DM, or if you're one of the players in your group and you want to make suggestions to how to use a rule, then that's totally fine. Everybody can make a group decision and do what you come up with.
Yeah, I'm the exact opposite of you, to be honest, when it comes to DMing. Where for me, it's not as much about the rules as it is about the story that we all tell, and the more that the players get into those characters and into those roles, and they start really just living in this world. It makes me want to give them that inspiration, but you have to really be in that world. It doesn't come easily, but it's not as much about the actual rule of how to give it to them, or like what it says in the book. And it's not actually like they can use in my games, the inspiration is more than just those roles. They can use it not to change the world or anything like that, but um, if they were trying to just do something really fun, or something, like they're like one group had there somebody was trapped inside somebody else's body, so they talked through for 45 minutes and an exorcism. They made it up on the spot for
Nice.
45 minutes. It was amazing. It was one of the greatest moments in my D&D experience. And at the end of it all, I couldn't not give them all inspiration. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
actually, in the way that they role played it, and the way their inspiration, what I gave to them, it inspired me to change the entire quest based around this story that they just acted out.
Yeah, it's funny that you gave that example because that's a fantastic example of how something really awesome took place, and it was like 3/4 of an hour, and everybody was having fun, and it was talking back and forth and role playing it. And I was listening to, I think either I can't remember if it was a video or if it was a podcast, but it was one of the Chris Perkins DM'd thing, and that has like thousands of people in attendance, and it was one of those shows, and one of the players asked him, can I use my inspiration to do something? I can't remember what the example was that the player asked about. All I remember was his response to it, which was, he said, well, no, you can't do that, but that sounds really super fun. So yeah, I'm going to allow it. And he just changed his mind on the spot because whatever the player had asked him for sounded really cool and fun. And it got a big laugh from the audience. And then he ended up letting him do it. And it was a fantastic moment and everything like that. So there's always that. DMs can make any decision they want to kind of break the rules. As long as the rules are established, then, they can be broken if it doesn't, um, if it doesn't rock the boat too hard. But it was basically
Yeah.
for the advancement of the story and for the fun of the players. So
And I find the more that the DMs choose to give stuff out like that out for that role playing and getting more into it, the more that your players engage.
oh, absolutely, yeah. And it becomes a thing players want to get, just like gold and treasure and magic items. They want to get inspiration. They want,
Mhm.
and if they spend it, they want it back, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the moment they spend it, right, it's like, how do I get my next fix?
Right.
Well, to be honest with you, when I first started DMing, I kind of would fudge rolls and things like that on purpose for my players. So, in a sense, I used inspiration, but I did it for myself to make the story more natural instead of saying, "Oh, all of a sudden you have a point," or I thought that was kind of a disruptive mechanic when I first started
Mhm.
fifth edition, but now I'm cool with it. I think it's pretty cool. But initially, like before all these um, new rules came out, I really would just change the story if I needed to keep the party going as opposed to just
Ooh.
giving points out. So that was my
Exactly.
thing.
Lil,
Fudging the
thanks for the
rolls is a
follow.
lot harder at home game unless you actually have one of those dice towers to roll into.
Very true.
Fantasy Ground, different story.
Yes.
So we do give a prize out during random times in the show. Sometimes people think it's going to be at the end of the show, so they don't show up until 45 minutes or 50 minutes into the show, and then they miss the prize. So we're going to give it out right now. It's only been 25
All
minutes,
right.
so we're gonna do it at random times. So here's the cover of Unknown Whom. This is the first adventure that I wrote, and actually the only adventure that appears out of the 66 items I have on the DM's Guild currently. That I wrote myself, and this is a level 0 to 3 adventure. A lot of people know about it, but we'll go ahead and do a contest for it. This is an adventure. It's about 12 hours long, and players don't have to prepare or make characters. All they have to do is show up, and part of that adventure is leading the characters. You know, they start in a room that's dark, and they wake up, and they're all they have is a background and like a loincloth, and that's it. And they build their characters as they explore the dungeon, so it's pretty fun. I'm going to go ahead and do the contest. Mika Moab,
So
thanks for
while you're
the
doing
follow.
that, Rob, I just want to let you know that we've had about 3 or 4 joins in the last half an hour. That's really good.
Oh,
Thanks,
cool.
people, for doing that. That's really nice.
So let's see. I'm going to set up a keyword raffle, and I'm going to make the keyword
Inspiration.
Oh, that's right. I should do that. That's a good. I was gonna make it UK for Unknown Whom, but people will think, oh, United Kingdom, what's going on? But inspiration,
Right.
that's better.
Yep. So I'm really inspired by Rob's work, by the college, by all of our staff and students. So I don't need a freaking point that says give or take or have a inspiration. I get it from people in role play. I don't need points to do it. So that's what I'm saying.
Nice. Okay, so I've started the raffle. So anybody that wants a copy of Unknown Whom, if you don't have it, if you already have it, please don't enter the raffle, because you know we want somebody to get it that doesn't have it. But you guys can type in. Some people are doing it already in chat. You can type in !inspiration, and that will enter you in. And you see some people have already entered there. And then we'll let the 5-minute counter.
Nice.
We will let the 5-minute counter go down, and then at the end of the 5 minutes, we'll draw us a winner, and we'll give this away. So,
That's a good name for a stream! !Inspiration.
!Inspiration.
So Rob, do you remember any memorable moments that we can talk about after the contest? In any or all of your streams that you've done over the last couple of years?
You mean for inspiration? Let's see.
Yeah.
I
Think
know
about it for a while.
well, I can think of one right now.
Okay.
I think it was Curse of Strahd, and it was definitely a TPK. And the monsters flattened the party, and then the monsters left the party for dead and went away. And one of the and everybody had their inspiration, and so the party was just making death saves. I mean, we're just cycling through the round, you know, every fail, and then another round, fail. Now everyone's gonna die, right? And so every player used their inspiration on their death save to get advantage, and it was fail. It came down to the very last person, and he used his inspiration. He rolled a 20 on a death save. He came conscious, and he cast Mass Cure Wounds on the entire party and saved everybody. It was amazing.
Nice.
Yep. Inspiration does have to be spelled correctly, lowercase. Put the exclamation right in front of it, no space.
Correct.
Yeah, it's okay. I'm kind of new to Twitch, so I have the same issues, guys. Don't be afraid or shy to ask somebody.
Here I'll show the bot on the screen, so that if you don't see your name in this list, that means you didn't type it in right, and because it really doesn't give you an acknowledgement. It doesn't say, hey, you've entered, or at least I don't think it does. It might whisper you. I'm not sure, but looks like we have 9 people in there so far. 2 minutes left, so you guys have plenty of time.
Yeah, Kurgan, your name's in there, so you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's all the names. Usually the streamer wouldn't show the names of the people in there, but there's no reason not to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool little launching screen. I'd like to talk to you about that some other day.
Oh yeah, this is actually DeepBot. This is This is the thing that lets me put the title and everything. And I mean, it's got all this different stuff. This is a whole bot that you can use. It's got the chat here if I want it. It's got who the people are in the stream. It's got the raffle thing. It's got all my commands that I use. It's got a music thing, which I don't use because you can't. Playing music during the stream never works out because YouTube copyright dings you. But it's got all this different stuff on. But it's called DeepBot, and you guys can look that up on the internet. If you're a streamer and you want to use it, you can. It costs $5 a month, but it's, to me, well worth it. I use it every single day, and I actually let it run while I'm not streaming because people, squat in the chat and they do all kinds of stuff. It looks like we're full up. We got a lot of people in here.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, it might even tell me. Yeah, we have 26 viewers and 33 chatters. So,
Wow.
yeah, so that's good. And people always say, well, what's the difference between a viewer and a chatter? Well, people viewing are people who are watching the stream. Chatters are people who are in the chat, but they might not necessarily have the video up. They might have a chat box out. Like, for example, someone like Lazy Sooner might not be here because he just squats in the channel like 24/7, but he might be here. I don't know. Give a shout out, Sooner, if you're here. If not, he's squatting. but anyway, yeah. So we have a good audience now. But yeah, that has nothing to do with our show today. But just to let everybody know, that's the little deep bot thing that I use. That's one of the bots that I use. And then here's
Nice.
go back to the raffle, and it's counting down. So as soon as 30 seconds run out, I'll hit draw winner, and it will pick a winner for me, and that's how that works.
Cool. So what about you, Lauren? What was one of those big inspiring moments in one of your quests?
Well, I would have to say it may have to wait till after the announcement. I don't want to start the story and then have to stop.
All right.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
We
10
can wait
yeah.
20 seconds.
So yeah, we're here. We're gonna give this away in a couple seconds. Bam. Okay, so 9 people entered, and I will draw a winner right now. Congratulations to Fury Fate. There it is, everybody. She was the host, or she was the guest
Woo!
last week. Fury Fate. All right, Fury. So
Awesome.
congratulations. You can just PM me and give me your DMs Guild email, and I will send that to you. So congrats to Fury, and thanks everybody else for entering. We will be giving a prize away every single time we have a show. I'm going to give a prize away, and as a matter of fact, I'll take this opportunity to mention that. Let's see. Here's the spreadsheet for the shows. It looks like April 8th. I mean, you want to of course tune in every Sunday and every Tuesday, but April 8th, we're going to have a show about streaming, and the guest is going to be Lazy Sooner, and he's giving away, I believe he said, over $100 worth of prizes. So you definitely want to be here for that show. That's April 8th.
So that's all Fantasy Ground stuff, you guys, not just.
Yeah, he's going to be
any
giving
old
away Fantasy Grounds modules, licenses, any module. I think he hasn't really locked down. All I know is he said he's getting his awards from Twitch that he got for a big month. Leroon, you were a big part of that. You and Ensky had a war in his channel, and he made a bunch of money, and he's gonna he wants to give it back to the community. So that's awesome.
That is awesome. Got a question. Someone, Kerrigan asked if you were friends with Digital DM.
Oh, Digital Dave, yeah. So I'm friends with him, and actually, he and I are both employees of SmiteWorks. Digital Dave, he works for customer service. He is the customer service representative for SmiteWorks for Fantasy Grounds, and he got that job I think toward the end of last year. And February 1st, there was a team of 4 of us that got hired by Doug to be on the social media team, and so I'm one of those 4 people. And that was just a mere 3 weeks ago, less than 3 weeks ago. But yeah, Digital Dave and I are friends. We've been on the internet, known each other for a couple years, and we talk sometimes. And I've never met Dave in person. We almost did, though. We had a Denver and Dragons get together just a couple of weeks ago. It was our second time. A group of 5 of us got together in real life to play basically Fantasy Grounds. We all got together in real life so that we could open our laptops on a table and play Fantasy Grounds. It was amazing. And we've done that twice. And we invited Dave to come to that, and he really wanted to, but he was moving. Everybody that follows Dave and knows Dave's story, he was moving from Florida to Texas, so he couldn't join us. But Dave is threatening to have a real life get together in his location. He lives in El Paso, Texas now, so I'm hoping to be a part of that if it ever happens. But yeah, Dave and I are friends, so that should answer the question.
Keep me informed. I want to go to that for sure.
Yeah, so does everybody. I don't know how he's gonna he's gonna have to rent a warehouse, and then there's gonna be 65 people there. I don't know how he's gonna choose who does that, but I'm sure anybody that knows about it would want to go because he's an awesome guy. And by the way,
That'd
everybody,
be awesome.
don't forget to tune in every Friday. I mean, I tweet it. You guys see my tweets and my Facebook postings, but every Friday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, they're doing the show now, Fantasy Grounds Friday, and this week's guest is none other than Chris Lindsay, who is the guy in charge of the DMs Guild from WotC. And
Nice.
there's a special I don't know if they're going to talk about it, and I can mention it, but I can't really give too much details. But there's a special project coming in the DMs Guild next month, and it's going to be, I'm one of 46 creators that are putting it into DMs Guild, and it's going to be a bestiary. It's called Monsters of the Guild. It has over 100 monsters, and I will be doing, of course, the Fantasy Grounds conversion. That's right. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, baby.
That's gonna be awesome.
I'm excited for that.
People's names attached to that: Wolfgang Bauer from Cobalt Press. Chris Lindsay himself is doing the forward for us. We asked him to do it, and he said I'd be happy to, so we couldn't believe it. And some of the other names that you see on the front page of the DMs Guild all the time. Yeah, there's 46 different creators, so it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah. So can I ask one thing about that, Rob? Can
Sure,
you give
go
me
ahead.
your favorite monster out of there to inspire me to make a quest around it?
Well, the thing is, I haven't seen it yet. I know
Okay.
some of the monsters in there, but of course my favorite is the big green eye. And all of the monsters in this book are from something that's already been on the DMs Guild. So mine was the big green eye, which appears in Unknown Whom, right? It's on the cover. You
Yeah.
guys just saw it. So I only have one monster in there. Some people have Robert Aducci, I think, has 5, and some other people have more. But there's over 100 monsters, and every monster that's in there has appeared in something. And then so when you open the PDF, or the print on demand is going to be there as well. We made that happen. Or the Fantasy Grounds module, it will say, hey, this monster's from this thing, and it'll give you the link. If you want to go buy that adventure, you can, but that's just a sort of the way the idea came about. Somebody just said it. It was actually my idea. They go, who should we get to do the forward? And I go, what about Chris Lindsay, the guy that invented the DMs Guild? And they're like, he'll never do it. And I'm like, just email him. And he said, yeah. So
Cool.
So I got some couple things to say and ask.
sure.
I'm inspired to try to help people get into some games. So I was been talking to Rob and some of the staff about this, and I'm wondering if the people at large would be interested in joining some of your online streams, Rob. How would be the way to do that? What's the best way to get on your stream?
Oh, I see what you did there. So the best way to get in a game that I'm running is to now I'm going to paint Leroon into a corner. Watch me do it, everybody.
Right.
The best way to get on my stream is to just ask me. But having said that, you should first have in your pocket a graduatory certificate. I don't know if graduatory is a word. I just made it up. You should have an FGC, a Fantasy Grounds College graduation certificate or role, which I think Leroon and I already talked about this. He's going to create a role in the Fantasy Grounds College. And when I say role, I mean like if you go to Fantasy Grounds College, there's staff, there's player, there's guest, there's honored guest, there's streamer. I'm a streamer in there. So there's all these different roles. If you guys know Discord, you get roles assigned to you. He's going to have an FGC graduate role. And what that'll mean is that you've either taken the class or tested out of it. Combat 101, Character Creation 101. Were those the two, Leroon?
Yeah, those are like the least basics, and the reason we do that is so that you're comfortable with the game and you help everyone else keep the game going. It's not like an exclusive club or anything like that. Just basically, we just want you guys to know what's going on and to also help with the stream and the environment that you're going to be in, because you're going to be live in front of like hundreds of people. So we're trying to help Rob and the other streamers like Geo and people like that to graduate the students, especially new people that are very new to the whole thing, into something that would help
Cheer bits
people
in the
to
stream.
get
Thanks
into
for
a
the cheer
stream and
bits.
be more comfortable. And that's
Yeah.
all it is. And they don't usually show your face or anything. They hear your voice. But believe me, the first time I did a stream with Rob, I didn't do so hot. And I'm supposed to be the one that's teaching.
I was busting his balls hard, everybody. I was like,
And
and he didn't know, he was just nervous is why it was. I didn't realize he was just nervous because it was streaming, but he would do something and I'm like, there's this place called Fancy Grounds College. They have classes you can learn how to. I was just busting his balls. It was hilarious.
it's also not just about learning Dungeons and Dragons. It's about learning how to utilize Fantasy Grounds and use the automation that it provides to you.
Right. So having said that, that's personally how I would do it because I have a lot of games that I'm running and I recently just kind of scaled it down, so I'm a little less now. I used to have 6 games a week and at one point 10 games every week. That's right. I was doing 2 a day. And so now I'm down to
Wow.
like only 2 games, and I'm trying to get something together also for a different one. But I'm more doing the shows now and the module creation Mondays and stuff like that. So I've shifted my concentration on what I'm doing on stream. But what I do is, and so the real answer is just ask me if you want to be in. Just PM me and ask me. But I will, I don't just let anybody in. I want to know that you know how to use Fantasy Grounds, and I need to say that I don't discourage new people. If you're brand new, that's absolutely fine. I just need to know that you know how to use the software and that you know a little bit, at least a preliminary amount of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which is what I play exclusively. And so the reason I do that is, and I will interview you. I'll speak to you for 15 or 20 minutes on Discord, voice to voice, so that we can kind of get to know each other. The reason I do that is I've been doing this for over 2 years now, and I've learned do not let people in the game just sight unseen, because that'll just blow up. I've had people come in and they weren't a good fit, and the other 4 or 5 players quit because of that one person, and then now I don't have a game. So that's just my personal way I do it. I interview people and I talk to them to make sure that I think they'll be a good fit for the group. But I think there's only been maybe 1 or 2 cases where I've said to somebody, hey, I don't think you're going to work out. Even before the game started, I did that. But that's very, very rare, and it would only because something they said to me, or something that didn't just quite seem right. But listen, guys, I'm only one of many streamers, and I'm only one of like thousands and thousands of DMs out there. So if you want to find a game to be in, and my thing isn't a good fit for you, don't give up on that. You can find just many places to play if you go to the forums, or if you go to the Fantasy Grounds College Discord, but also the Fantasy Grounds official Discord. They have an LFG there as well, and there's literally like, I don't know, 2,500 or 3,000 people in that Discord, so you'll find a game.
Yeah, I just want to also remind you guys that there is a huge dungeon master shortage. I mean, I saw this come in months ago, and it's always been a thing since I played D&D. But now that the stuff is migrating towards this digital platform, I really think that we have a huge major problem with DMs, even at regular tabletops. So if you want to actually play more, I would advise you eventually and slowly evolve into running some games and trying it out. And I do teach that here in the college, and we have a lot of knowledgeable people in this community that can help you.
Yeah, and DMing, like Leroon said, then you'll have players knocking down your door because everybody's looking for a game, and if you want to guarantee yourself always playing, or using Fantasy Grounds and having something going on every week or every 2 weeks or whenever you do it, becoming a DM is a great way to do it. And my recommendation, in addition to taking the course at Fantasy Grounds College, if you've never run a campaign before, a good one to do either on Fantasy Grounds or in real life is Lost Mine of Phandelver. That's a fantastic campaign. It literally tells you in the instructions, ask your players to roll initiative. I mean, it walks you through basically how to DM the module. And not to toot my own horn, but yes, to toot my own horn, Unknown Whom is another great, it's a good beginner DM module because you build the characters while you're playing. So all you have to do is everybody show up one day and just start reading and start going through it. And I've had other beginning DMs tell me that they really loved Gwydion. The first thing he ever DM'd was Unknown Whom, and he said it was a dream, and he said he loved it, and so I was very happy to hear him say that.
Cool.
That is cool. Another thing wanted to mention is are anybody out there interested in actually getting a chance to play with a bunch of people? It's FG Con's coming up this spring.
Oh yes, FGCon 12 I believe is in April, yeah.
Hmm.
Yep.
And then also, and that is what's cool about that is that Doug Davison, the president and co-owner of Fantasy Grounds, he goes into the system and he opens up anybody who's got a Fantasy Ground ID on the forums that can load the software. Everybody has the ultimate license for like those 3 days. So
That is so awesome.
yeah, he just flips a switch and everybody gets the license. So you can run a game, you can join a game, you can be in games, and Fantasy Grounds College, I believe. You know what? I'll look up the website right now while you guys are talking about it. But that's April, I think 13th to the 15th. I'll verify those dates now. And then
Yeah, I think you're
also, Leroon,
15th
do
to
you want to talk about 15th to 18th? Okay. Do you want to talk about spring break at FGC?
Yeah, so in the theme of the Fantasy Grounds College, I figured what's a college without spring break? So coming up here in the middle of March, starting the 16th all the way till Easter Sunday, which is April 1st this year, we're going to have a bunch of games run through the college and pretty much games only. So we'll still help people out and teach them how to play, and these will be new people friendly and allow people to get used to the game system, things like that. So we're just going to have some sort of big 2 week, or maybe I don't know, not sure how many days that's going to be, but that's going to be a whole 2 weeks solid of gaming. And I'm going to run some games. I'm going to play some alternate game systems. I'm going to do all kinds of fun stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, bring your friends, come into the college, and we're just going to try to run some games or play in them.
Cool. So yeah, so here's on the screen is the website. So it's fg-con.com if you guys want to go there. And it is the 13th through the 18th. I believe that's probably a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's not just D&D. They do all kinds of stuff. It's all exclusively Fantasy Grounds, obviously, but they have Call of Cthulhu. They do Savage Worlds. They do all a bunch of different rule sets. And this is just a whole big convention. And there's time slots, and you guys can sign up for whatever you want to play. And if you're a DM and you want to submit yourself to run a game during that, I've done that for the last 3 prior. I didn't have time to do it this year, or won't have time, but I've done that before. And so yeah, just check that out. It's a good thing for everybody to. That's one of the first things I did. Zacchaeus was my dungeon master. The very first official game I ever played in was a FGCon game back in like late 2015 or early, right around in there somewhere. And yeah, look at me now. I'm addicted. I can't stop.
And if I'm not mistaken, we will also be running some classes out of FGCon for people that want to learn while they're there as well, if they're new to Fantasy Grounds while they're joining it.
Right. I haven't gone to I'm not going to do it this year myself, so I didn't go here, but do they have a link for you on the site for the FGCon, or for the FGC?
Yeah, they're building it. We were actually officially invited, and I'm going to teach a couple classes in there, and I'm going to see about maybe even playing in one of the other genres there. But
Oh,
my
cool.
main focus is going to be just to teach people the game and show them how it's run. Maybe do a really quick one-off type thing or something like that. So it's still in the works, but that's definitely something that they're going to be putting up for us real soon.
Okay, cool. And yeah, so you guys, if you're interested, here's the event list. The giant red button in the middle of the screen, event list. There you go. So yeah, so you can see already. There's only a few events in here, but I think that the GM registration just opened anyway. So, and it's a ways off. It's a couple of months away. So, mapping tools is by Damned, coding tutorial by Damned, and pulp action game by Damned. And Damned is the guy that runs the whole thing. So he put those in. It might not even be open for registration yet, but do bookmark that, guys, fg-con.com, and go there if you're interested. And you can either be in games or run games for that, and they do that a couple of times a year. So there's FG Days and DAZE and FG Con that both happen a couple times a year. So check that out.
Yep. So that's a also, I'm not going to guarantee this, but there's been a couple times where I'd been at conventions where authors or developers or even sometimes staff will come in there and give out free licenses or free discount codes or promotional things. So you may run into something like that. I'm not saying you're going to get it, but I've had that happen in a couple games that I've participated
Oh,
in.
that's cool. Yeah, I've never had that happen, so that's good to know.
Yep.
But they do like, they do, and that actually is not run by Smiteworks. That FGCon is run by the fans. It's run by Damned, who is just a fan, and he's been doing it for, I don't know, 6 or 8 years, whatever it is. They used to do it once a year. Now they do it a couple times. But it's obviously number 12, so it's been going for a while. And Smiteworks loves it, and they participate, and Doug opens up all the licenses, but it's all basically run by the fans, so it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I think we're running low on topic, so if there's any question on what we've talked about for inspiration, or even just Fantasy Grounds in general, or the college, or anything.
Yep. If you guys have any, this show is supposed to be initially and ideally, I guess, the show was going to be like a 15-minute or 30-minute presentation on some certain subject, and then the rest of the show was ask any question you want about Fantasy Grounds. And so for about the last 10 or 15 minutes, we've been talking about FGCon and all this other different stuff. So that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We're here to, if you guys have questions, it doesn't have to be about inspiration. It can be about anything Fantasy Grounds at all. So if you guys do have questions, we're happy. Like somebody asked, am I friends with David Middleton? So, I answered that question. That's Digital Dave's real name, everybody. I just let the cat out of the bag. David Middleton. It's not a secret. It's not a secret. David Middleton, that's his name. Him and his beard. They live in El Paso, Texas now.
So we got Rob Tui. Would you recommend porting the inspiration system over to other systems, or do you think it becomes game breaking elsewhere?
So I'm not an expert on anything except 5e. I've played Savage Worlds. I've played previous editions of D&D, although only 4th edition and 1st edition. I've never played 2nd edition or 3rd or 3.5, and believe it or not, even though I have 8 or 10 Pathfinder things in the Smiteworks store that I converted, I've literally never, ever, not even for a minute, played Pathfinder ever. So I can't speak. Maybe you guys could speak more to that than I could, but inspiration, basically it's just being able to roll an extra die to help yourself out. So I don't know in other game systems if that would help or hurt.
Most game systems have something like that built into them, like Pathfinder, or no, not Pathfinder. Savage Worlds, for instance, has what's called bennies, where you get bennies to start with. I think it's 3 of them, and they can be used in the same way as inspiration can. You can use it to say you make an attack and you miss. You can use your benny to re-roll it.
Yeah.
The benny to also soak up wounds, which is how you take damage and die in Savage World. So every game system does have something of that nature. It may just be called something other than inspiration.
Right, and like you said, most game systems have some form of that. And I know, but to answer specifically the question that they asked, which was, do you think that you could use it in a different system? You certainly could, but you'd have to experiment and see what happened. Like I had a DM in real life who brought in all kinds of like we were playing 5th edition and he brought in the shift from 4th edition, moving 5 feet after an attack, and he had some other rule from 3.5 that he brought in, and I'm like, you know what, dude, if you want to play 3.5 or 4th edition, go play that, but this is 5th edition, so I got mad at him. But crossing over rules from either different editions of the same game or different, bringing a rule from one system to another, you can do it, but you got to be careful you don't blow stuff up.
Got some questions for you and some comments.
Sure.
Shadzar said, is there any way that you can code Fantasy Grounds to reward inspiration for something, like an event, to trigger that?
Well, my brain is spinning now, crazy. Thank you, Shad. Because I've never thought about that till just this second, and that I can think of really quick. Like, I'm assuming he means, all the coding that I've done. Is there something I can do to set it so that it gives inspiration? I don't think so at this point. Not that I can think of. I don't know. Maybe you guys can think of something, but I think the way you code that at this point is something happens and you go up here and you tick a tick mark. I think that's the way you code it. I don't know that. I mean, I'm not trying to be a smartass, Shad, but I don't know that there's any way you can put like a code on your actions tab to code inspiration. I don't even think that's possible.
I think the easiest way to, like, is there a way for somebody to trigger a trap in Fantasy Grounds? Because that would be the same thing. You know what I mean? They walk on this square and something triggers, but I don't think it has that automation yet. So
yeah, exactly. That's another.
That you're on that team, that might be something you want to, hint
That's another thing. Let me just state right now. My job is to get on Twitter and Facebook and say stuff about Fantasy Grounds. I have absolutely no power. People are like, make Doug do traps automatically. I'm like, yeah, why don't you call Carl Pinder and John and ask them if they'll do that for you. There is a wish list though. Oh, maybe I'll mention that. There is a wish list. Where do I know what that is? Oh wait, maybe it's in my bookmarks. Do you guys know what the URL for that is?
Not off the top of my head. Which isn't a fair question, because I don't have any hair up there.
Wish list.
I'm not sure what that is.
So, Farid, you don't even know what it is? Okay, so let me see if I can just Google it, if I get lucky.
Yeah, Idea Informer.
Gift Hero. Or Wish Lift Apparel.
Apparently
there's a whole bunch of them. Oh, Idea Informer.
Idea Informer. Okay, here it is. I got it. So it's the URL is absolutely shit. It's fg2app.idea.informer.com. But if you go, you guys saw, I typed it in Google and I was able to find it. So there's a wish list, guys. For those of you that don't know, this is actually a pretty exciting thing. And I put many things on here. But this is basically what you wish Fantasy Grounds could add to the programming. So, like, for example, the highest vote, there's 1,319 votes for system multiple monitors. So, and a dynamic light, which is actually coming with Unity. But, yeah, so there's a big wish list here. And you can go in and you can add your own idea. You can say, I wish there was a way to trigger the fact that if somebody did something, that they would be awarded inspiration automatically, and it would tick it on the character sheet. And then you'll type that in there, and then over here on the side there'll be a little 1 because you're the only one who thought of that. And then people can vote on that. and like all my ideas are down there with one. I can't even remember what I put in here now, but yeah. So just to let you guys know, there is a wish list, and you can go and find that. And again, how I found that was I just typed in Google Fantasy Grounds Idea Informer, and it popped up for me. And there's also the forum entry itself called Idea Informer Idea Creation in Fantasy Grounds forums, and then you can go down, and I think the third Trenlo's put in here the actual thing you can click on.
Nice. I've actually requested a few things in there as well. We kind of do the same thing at the college, guys. We have a questionnaire, and we use that to help us drive the needs of the college. So we kind of do the same thing it's like a wish list. And so some of the number one things are DM's class, a module building class, and also more games. Those are the top 3. So this is a good way to get yourself heard, and the more people that vote on it, the more the development team will look at that. I think they use this to drive the features and the upcoming
Yeah, absolutely.
updates.
And there's been many things in here that I've seen that are gone now because they did it. They put it in the system and they took it out of Idea Informer because it's already in the program now.
Nice.
And you guys see that stuff like every time they do a major release, and sometimes they'll use like a good example of the most recent thing is I forget the guy. Forgive me, I forget the guy's name off the top of my head right now. But there's the guy that did the Pro theme and the Gap theme, and he put them on DM's Guild for free, and they were the clean themes, and they're now in Fantasy Grounds.
Right, that's the guy with all the numbers, the ones and zeros.
Yeah, that's right. His name is like 1010111 or something like that. But
it's code for something.
Yeah, exactly. It's probably some profane word, and if I decrypted it, I'd be so happy because my mouth. But I'm gonna go back to the front screen here and just show that. So that was a good example of so load campaign, and if we go down here, you'll see that two of the extensions now are theme simple brown and theme simple gray. So if we load that, that was something that was an extension that they just rolled it in, and everybody loved it so much that they put it in. So a lot of things have happened like that. Yeah. I think Inspiration actually
come out today.
Yeah, every Tuesday is updates, and usually those are updates
fixes
to modules. Yeah, they're fixes to modules.
Yeah.
So like I ran it just before the show, and it was like some Savage World stuff, some Interface Zero stuff, and it will only update stuff that you own. So if there's no fixes for anything you own, you won't get an update. But I own so much crap. So as soon as this loads, so that's the theme. So see how everything looks different. So this is what a character sheet looks like. So it's all nice. What I like about, I might start using this theme actually. It had some problems initially when the guy first made it, but apparently those have been cleared up because they wouldn't dare add it to Fantasy Grounds unless it was perfect. But what I like, especially for streaming, like if you're gaming and it's just a private game, you don't have to worry. But on stream, everything is so precise. And see, I can squeeze that up into that corner like that. All straight lines, all perfect, all nice and neat. Because like the 5e theme is really nice. It's the white one that has the red dragon heads on it. It's pretty cool looking. But everything sticks out sideways, and it's got stuff sticking out of the top, and so it's not good for streaming. So that's why when you watch the stream, you don't see very many people. And I think Zelikar uses it. She likes it. But I don't think you see many people using the 5e theme on stream because of the way the screen setup is.
Yeah, that actually is, I might start using that, to be honest.
Yeah, this is nice. And I think the other one's just like it, only it's brown instead of gray. But
yeah, I get a lot of questions on that in the college about the extensions and stuff. And I'm just like, well, listen, if you're all about the aesthetics, then don't use these ones. But you're just going to be loading a lot more stuff to everybody else with the more fancy pictures you have around.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the thing that I do like about this, I'm going to go back to this now that it's part of the program. I'm going to start using this because, to me, like the green 19, and even the yellow star, that stuff just pops out at you. Fantasy Grounds sometimes is a little hard to read in the normal themes, but this is excellent. I just love this.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so
it has good contrast.
It has good contrast. That is exactly the way to say that. So we've done an hour, guys. We were going to get ready to wrap it up, but we would like to, give everyone a chance. If there is any questions you have, let us know because we will answer them before we stop the show.
Anybody got any questions? It could be about just about anything except for stuff that's off topic.
Yeah, this is, so someone's asking, is that the Xanathar theme? So the answer is yes and no. It is the Xanathar theme, but it's not really a theme. The theme is what you see back here, the gray stuff. That's the theme. This is just the Xanathar's.
Okay, so that's the theme?
Oh, you guys couldn't hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not the theme. So the theme is the gray stuff, the whole thing all the way around. The decals is what he's talking about. So the decals are in your options, and depending what you have loaded, these are just the decals from the Xanathar's Guide to Everything. So I think there's 8 of them. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or there's 6 of them. Sorry. So there's a difference between theme, which is just this gray stuff, the way the desktop looks, and then the decals are what you load. And I'll go back and show that. So every module you buy, Player's Handbook, DMG, Xanathar's, any module that you buy, any adventure that you buy, they all have background decals. And you'll see them all grouped in the extensions when you go to load your campaign in this list that I'll scroll through in a second as soon as I get my screen back. Here we go. So they all start the same way. They all start D&D and then whatever it is. So if you look right here, you see that Lost Mine of Fandover, Monster Manual, Player's Handbook. You can, if you want, you can just load everything. But this is what Farad was talking about and Laroon was talking about a minute ago. You don't want to really do this if you don't have to, because watch what happens. I'll start this, and I'll have every decal available to me, which is completely awesome and cool. But how much are you really looking at the decal on the desktop in the background more than just when you sign on the table? You've got windows and stuff covering that, and it'll just suck up your memory. So.
While that takes forever to load, you do have a couple questions. Rob, what is your favorite fruit?
Oh, my favorite fruit to say is kiwi, but my favorite fruit to eat is probably a banana.
Okay.
All right. And
also, I have go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say there's a joke about that. For those of you that watch Big Bang Theory, you may have seen this. So Big Bang Theory is about nerds. If you don't watch it, you should. But there's a character of Sheldon talking to Stewart on that show, and Stewart says something. He goes, "Oh, that's just way wrong." And Sheldon says, "There's no degrees of wrong. It's either wrong or right. There's no degradation of wrong." And he goes, "No, that's not true, because saying a tomato is a vegetable is wrong. Saying a tomato is a suspension bridge is way wrong." And so when you asked me my favorite fruit, that's what came into my head. So I'll show you these decals, everybody. So watch when I go through all these.
Got a couple questions for you, Rob?
Yeah.
Shadsar says, does the complete Rob Tui effects coding package have or had any decals? You know, that's a really darn good idea.
Ooh, decals.
For the coding package.
If only I knew how to build decals. So the way, actually, you know what? Hold on. Now I'll answer.
That actually leads into another question while you're answering that one. Honestly, it does, because AJ asked, is there a way to let us add custom themes?
Yes, I'm going to. Okay, so again, I want to be clear that a theme is different than the decals. Those are two separate things. So just to be clear with people, you can do both. That Gap theme, which it was called Gap and Pro, now it's called Simple Brown and Simple Gray. They changed the name of it. But those are themes that a guy created. I don't know how to do that personally, but you can do it. But I will show you this, what somebody did for me. Let me go back to these again and nerf all these. Boom, boom, boom. We get rid of them. But there is something that someone created specifically for me. So I'll show this to you guys, and you guys can do this. You can learn how to do it, or have somebody do it for you. That person would not be me. Let me find it. Rob Tui decal. So now let me load this. So I used to do this when I had the 5e pickup games. I would load when people would come to the table, they would see these decals. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. But yeah, the answer is you can absolutely do your own thing. Many people have done it. When people make different rule sets, they very often will make a theme. Like the Star Wars one has a star field in the background and so forth and so on. But you can make your own themes and you can make your own decals. And it seems that decals is not as hard to do as themes. Theme is much more involved because you're talking about all the different fonts, you know, all the different ways the screen appears, and you have to address everything. You have to address each window in the thing, the combat tracker, the party sheet, the character sheet. I love you, man. Everything. Hey, Elzer, 1974, thanks for the sub. All right, a sub. But let me show you these. This is totally just like enough of Rob Tui already. Get that guy off my screen. Yeah, there's my card, right? and then the other one I used was just my logo. So it's in Fantasy Grounds. Now this is of course it's not part of Fantasy Grounds. It's somebody made this for me, and if and I can tell you who that was. I think it was it Dre? It was it was August. This was about a year and a half ago. A August. He used to play in my games. And you see here that it says custom desktop decals by Rob Toohey, extension by August, and slightly bastardized by Rob Toohey. I put that in there because he had made it a certain way, and then I just changed it a little bit. But so that's my Twitch avatar, or my avatar, and then I've got my business card that was on there. So all that stuff is still true, except for the emails changed. I got a new email now. I don't use Yahoo anymore because I finally came into the goddamn 21st century. But yeah, so you guys can do that. And to answer Shad's question, I could make a decal for the coding package, but it would, someone would have to turn that extension on. So if you loaded the codes in, it wouldn't put the decal there. You'd have to manually put the decal in there. So that's why I've never really bothered with it, is because it would be an extra step anyway. So I've never done that, but the answer is yeah, you could do that.
D&D questions and a couple comments for you, Rob.
Sure.
Okay, 2 questions that are regarding D&D, and so what's being asked of you is what's your favorite class to play, and what's your favorite Wizards of the Coast module?
Let me do the first one first. The second one first. First, favorite modules, Princes of the Apocalypse. I just love that module. I think it's really great. I've played it once. I've ran it 2.5 times. Quitters. A lot of them are really good. Curse of Strahd is good. I do have an affinity for certain ones for certain reasons, but Princes of the Apocalypse is absolutely my favorite. I just love that story. I love how it's set up. I love Mike Schle's maps. I just think that whole thing is just super awesome. My favorite class? My favorite thing to do is try to play classes I hardly play so that I can learn new things and have fun tripping over stuff. But the answer to the question is Wizard. And that goes back to the Kevin story. That goes back to the very beginning in 1981 when I made my first character. I made a magic. It was called a magic user at that time, or a mage maybe. And it was a D4, and I rolled a D4 for hit points. I got 2 hit points, and I haven't looked back since. But I do like the spell casting, and wizards are fun to play. What's odd is you won't see me play a wizard very much because even though it's my favorite, like I said, I try to play a paladin or a druid or a monk or something that I hardly ever play, so that I can. The more you play that stuff as a DM, the more you learn, or as a player, the more you learn as a DM, because you're learning all the race traits and the character features and all that.
My question is, Lauren, you never got to tell your story about your greatest inspiration story.
Okay. I'm gonna just make this short. So basically, the group was up against a very difficult challenge, and we had to go across a ravine. And I used the ravine in my teaching classes, but the thing is that they had to jump across a ravine to get to the other side of this, probably about a 15-foot jump. And behind them was a bunch of ravenous wolves and a bunch of goblins. And so rather than taking a risk, one of the players had taken the inspiration to make sure that they can make it across the ravine. What's horrible about it is he rolled a 1, and the other roll was a 1 for the inspiration.
Oh, no.
So it was kind of like I gave him advantage, and this individual even went out of their way to drop the weight on him and everything. So what I did is I gave him a chance to grab the branch on the other side of the area, so they can have a chance to make it. I thought, man, this is me fudging the game here, kind of cheating. So they reach out for that branch and grab it, and I mean, it was awesome. It was like barely grabbed that branch, and I described it that way. And then the individual had to make a strength check to hold on to the weight. And so he rolled a 1 on the strength check. So the root broke and he fell like 40 feet down in this ravine. Horrible. So that's my best story about epic fails and epic chances, and inspiration, I guess, did not help in that case. It just made it more interesting.
That's fun. You know what that reminded me of the entire time you were saying that? I closed my eyes and anybody who's old enough, like all of us here talking are, that old game, Pitfall.
Oh
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Pitfall, yeah, with Activision,
yeah,
yeah.
baby.
I
Yep,
remember Atari
Activision.
2600. That's how old
Exactly.
I
That
am.
reminds me of that. Just reminded me of Pitfall.
Nice. All right. Well, do we have any other questions in the chat? There's, by the way, there's on the screen. There's the cover of Princes of the Apocalypse. I just brought it up since I said that was my favorite module.
Oh yeah.
That's what's her name. There she is.
By Kurgan.
Yeah, that's
Later,
right.
Kurgan.
So if there aren't any other questions, guys, we'll go ahead and close her down. We are here every Sunday and Tuesday. Next show, as a matter of fact, will be Sunday, and that'll be how to use Discord. And Leroon will not be here that day because he's going to be playing in a game. And so Furied Fate is going to co-host with me, and our special guest will be Enski, who will talk about how to use Discord. Not only how to use Discord for Fantasy Grounds and gaming, but how to do certain stuff in Discord, because there's a big controversy, or not controversy, but a big discussion on the Fantasy Grounds forums right now about TeamSpeak versus Discord, and there's a lot of team speakers who are very resistant and don't want to leave it and don't want to come to Discord. But for those of you guys that use Discord, for anybody watching right now that uses Discord, you guys know it's amazing. I was super resistant at the beginning just because I didn't know how to use it, but once I took a day or two to train myself on it, and I'll never go back now. I won't use anything else, but we'll go over that in the next show. So final call for any questions, guys.
No, I think they were mostly just statements about Kevin.
Yeah, F Kevin. Fuck Kevin.
We're gonna have to do a show on that, a whole show on
Kevin. Well, the story only takes 3 minutes to tell, and then the rest of it, and then anything after that is just F Kevin for 90 minutes. But and then there's well, hold on, I got let me see if I can find this real quick.
So I'm gonna give a little contest out to the chat. Anybody who can make the best quest in Fantasy Grounds, where the main boss is Kevin, and convince Rob to play in it.
Oh yeah.
I'll buy you whatever you want of Rob's off of the DM's Guild.
Oh, nice, very good. I love it. So here's
back that.
Here's the clip. Hold on, let me play this. I think it's gonna play. We should all hear it. Maybe. Maybe not.
I don't hear that.
Oh, no, it hasn't started playing yet, but
okay.
I tried to. Let's see.
I'm not gonna hear it because I don't have the Twitch volume on.
Yeah.
I just want to see if I. If it.
You and fuck this game and fuck all you and I'm fucking at it. Fuck you and fuck this game and fuck all you and I'm fucking at it.
Just put that on a loop for an hour and a half. So that's I've told that story many times. Oh wait, oh my God, YouTube will ding me for music. I've told that story many times. I told it when Dave from Nerdarchy interviewed me, and I told it when you interviewed me on for the FGC Christmas AMA, and I'm sure I'll tell it again many times. But yeah. So anybody that wants to make a module or a story that has Kevin in it, that'll be funny.
Yeah, custom module.
Oh yeah, well, and like I said, well, there'll be a prize for whoever. What we'll do is, what I'll say is, send them off to Rob in whichever one he deems the best to play through. We'll give you a prize for that.
Matter of fact, Rob, we'll have you run it, and we'll do it a private game. I'll make that part of my paid game or something.
Oh yeah, okay, sounds good. Well, I'll do that.
Yep. So if you guys make a module.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. Finish that thought.
I was gonna say, if you guys make a module and down the road here, and you guys are serious about it, and send us the actual thing, and you want a prize, I'm gonna back it, and I'm also going to invite you to a private game with Rob, where it's just myself and maybe 4 or 5 other people, and he'll run that module. So we'll see what happens.
Cool. All right, so we're gonna wind it down. I'd like to thank Leroon for co-hosting and special guest Barrett for showing up for tonight's show. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
And I will send you gentlemen off, and then I'll do my little thing that I do when I finish the stream. But
Okay.
thanks guys for the show, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks
Later.
for having me.
All right,
Bye.
thanks guys. So that's it for tonight, everybody. Thanks for coming to the show. Thanks for watching. I'll go here and I'll put on the slides. That's what I'll do. Appreciate everybody's participation tonight. We are having these shows every Sunday and Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. That's U.S. times. And if you are watching this on YouTube, and thank you. But yeah, try and tune in to the live show on Sundays and Tuesdays. And if you have questions and you're wondering about anything in Fantasy Grounds, just queue those up and come on in and join us on Twitch and ask the questions. I will go ahead and give everybody an end of stream reward. These are mainly for the games that I play, but I'm still going to give out the rewards as opposed to not doing it. So let me go and give out these rewards. 100 gold pieces in the chat, so that can be used for in-game economy for when we play games and stuff. And also, don't forget, guys, check out the Fantasy Grounds College. That is over at fantasygroundscollege.net. That's their website, and when you go there, you can click on their Discord and go there directly, and you can learn how to play. If you're watching this and you've never played Fantasy Grounds, you can certainly learn how to do that over there. And they have classes on character creation, DMing, combat, all that kind of stuff. They've got maps. They've got a whole wealth of information over there. And also, don't forget, guys, the ways you can help out the show is to come to my Discord, and you can meet other players and talk about stuff over there.
Cheer bits.
Thanks, Joe. Joe Numbers, everybody, with the cheer bits. He botched the command initially, but then he got it right. Also, you guys can... what else is in there? You can go to my Patreon page. I have levels as low as $1. What Leroon was talking about earlier is I do have much higher levels where you can get into a private game that I run for you, streaming or not, with just you and your friends. So that is available over there. You can subscribe to the channel if you wish. Thanks for those subs from today, by the way, and you can donate to the channel if that's something you'd like to do to help us out. You can go to the DMs Guild and peruse my items. There are currently 66 items available from me on the DMs Guild. About half of those are other authors' works that I've converted to Fantasy Grounds, but the other half are all the stuff that I've done, the player aids and the codes and all that kind of stuff. Current sales on the DMs Guild today, 2, 5, 8, 9, 10, 13, 16 items sold on the DMs Guild today, so that's pretty good.